Going on. Now, this is what's happening. On a flight to Rome after a 6-day visit to Mexico, Pope Francis was asked about Trump's plan to build a giant wall along the U.S.-Mexican border. The pontiff said, a person who only thinks about building walls wherever they may be and not building bridges is not Christian. I would only say that this man is not Christian if he has said things like that.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's just stop there. That would be a stunning comment. That man is not a Christian if you said things like that for any pope, for any preacher, for any minister. But Gene Robinson, for a pope who we all adored and loved for asking the question, who am I to judge? For him to turn around and then judge a man's very Christianity because he supports borders with his country is unthinkable.
Well, you know, look, I'm not in the habit of slamming the Holy Father, so I probably won't do that.
Well, we praise him for not being judgmental.
Right, exactly.
Should we not slam him for being judgmental?
I will say it seems out of character. It certainly seems out of character with what he has said all along and the whole attitude he has brought to the papacy, which many people found totally refreshing, which is, who am I to judge? Everyone is welcome. We want to be an embracing church. We want, you know, the whole idea of Christianity is that it kind of doesn't matter what you did.
Mike. I mean, and if we're not going to judge people, if the Pope's not going to judge people for what they do under a variety of circumstances, even when it goes against church teachings, weren't you shocked yesterday when the Pope just said, this man is not a Christian if he supports a wall?
Or did you just smile quietly and say Trump?
Okay, brush yourself, Mike. Yeah, exactly.
First of all, when I first heard the story, when I first read the story, it popped up on my phone, I thought it was The Onion. I thought it was...
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. You know, Pope versus Trump. Secondly, I choose to think that the Pope spoke as a matter of faith, not as a matter of politics. And I choose to think that he un-artfully worded his statement in English.
Was he speaking in English, by the way? Or?
Yes, I believe he was. I'm not sure.
Because if he wasn't, I'd like to see them.
There's no way Donald Trump can say anything he wants at this stage. We've seen this over and over and over again. But the injection of an element of faith in this is upsetting, I think, to a lot of people.
I mean, it is the Pope. And Caddy, again, for the Pope to say, I've got to say, politically, there's just no question how the people of South Carolina and the South are going to respond to a Pope saying, if you support stopping illegal immigrants from coming into the United States, you're not a Christian. That's going to cause a massive backlash. And not for Donald Trump. John Podhoretz, who is keeping me wildly entertained with his Twitter feed, basically said after the Pope came out and attacked Donald Trump, he said something like, wait, ... no, ... please, ... God, help. I mean, this is bad for politicians that are not Donald Trump.
Right, and you'd have to look further on to states like Pennsylvania and New York, where there are, what, quarter of voters are Catholics, to Ohio, where you've got a stronger Catholic voting community, but not here in the South. This is not going to hurt Donald Trump down here. I'm going to agree with Mike. I think, actually, if you look at the context of what the Pope was saying, and we have talked about it, this is a Pope who embraces inclusivity.
Right.
And I think what the Pope was implying was that there was a lack of inclusivity in Donald Trump's message. And that the wall is almost, as much as anything, a metaphorical.
It just, unfortunately, quite loud.
But you're right. It was not
to the response.
Just politically, though. I mean, you've got to be careful with the same Pope who was in Cuba, and there were people who had been tortured and jailed by Castro, the Castro regime, who came up to try to hand him something in the Pope mobile, and they were beaten and dragged away, and he just kept going and wouldn't even meet with these people. So his inclusiveness, let's just say, is self-selected by him. And this is a pope. You check the transcripts. We have praised repeatedly. That was the first time.
We love him. Trump had a swift and blunt response to the man who leads 1.2 billion Catholics worldwide. Take a listen.
I just wrote this out very quickly about the Pope. He actually said that maybe I'm not a good Christian or something. It's unbelievable, which is really not a nice thing to say. If and when the Vatican is attacked by ISIS, you know, ISIS, their primary trophy, very few people know this, their primary goal is to get to the Vatican. That would be their ultimate trophy. I can promise you that the Pope would have only wished and prayed that Donald Trump would have been president, because this would not have happened. ISIS would have been eradicated, unlike what is happening now with our all-talk, no-action politicians. The Pope was in Mexico. The leadership's meeting. Oh, Donald Trump is a bad guy. To build a wall. The Pope only heard one side of the story, and he didn't see the crime, the drug trafficking, and the negative economic impact. For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful. They're using the Pope as a pawn, and they should be ashamed of themselves. That's the Mexican government. I think it's great that Mexico's doing this. If you can get away with it, you got to get away with it. How smart are they? They see the Pope and they tell the Pope bad things about me because I'm against, you know, I'm very, very strong for illegal immigration. We got to stop it, right? So they tell the Pope Trump is bad, and the Pope says something negative about me. Now it's probably going to be all over the world. Who the hell cares, okay? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care, because we have to stop illegal immigration. We have to